Well, hello everybody and welcome, and we're going to talk about budgeting. So, how do you budget for living full time in a motorhome? Well, pretty easy really. You set a spending limit and you try to stick to it, don't you? Although you need a bit of experience. You can't just launch in and say, well, I'm gonna spend £100 a month on everything and then run out in the first week. That would be crazy, because then you've blown your budget and you don't know what else to do, and it's very depressing. So we had quite a bit of experience in terms of how much we are spending, what we're doing, whether we're going out for meals, going out drinking, lots of celebrating, all that sort of stuff. And we thought that we would be able to manage on a budget of €15 a day. Now, we're starting this sort of budget thing in February, so we got a short month, which weirdly, when you have a daily budget, you think that wouldn't really matter whether the month was long or short. However, we tend to sort of total up on a monthly basis and see whether we've hit our budget on a monthly basis. So having 28 days in the month rather than 30 gives you €30 less, but it does give you 2 days more in which to spend that money. So it sort of swings and roundabouts. However, we've been running that €15 a day budget for the whole month of February. And I'm sort of happy to say that we have come so close to hitting that €15 a day. We've gone over it by such a tiny amount. We've been over by €33 a day on average, or €9 for the entire month. Actually, €9.35. We were over budget. I'm not happy to say that we came nowhere near our stretch target of €13. That's the sort of, if we really want to push ourselves, we are going to go for €13 a day or even less than that, and we call that our stretch target, because we're going to have to stretch ourselves a bit to do that. Now, I think that the €15 a day budget is pretty easy to hit when you're looking at normal life, eating a little bit of alcohol, beer, wine, spirits, and the occasional extra bit of clothes or toiletries that you're having to buy. But and here come the excuses as to why we overspent this month. Well, we're over in Spain at the moment, our first trip down to the south of Spain, and we have moved along into the Granada region where my brother lives. And we decided that we would meet up with my brother and his wife and have a little bit of a celebrate. We hadn't seen each other for quite a little while. I mean, years, absolutely years and years. So we had a lot to catch up on, and they came to pick us up from our campsite on Andalusia Day, which is a sort of national holiday here in Spain, or in the Andalusia region, and they took us to a fiesta. Well, fiestas aren't free to attend, so we ended up spending over our budget on that day by quite some amount. I spent €20 that day, and we'd sort of come close to sort of hitting our budget, because that was a couple of days ago. And I think if we hadn't gone to Andalusia Day, we'd have been like €15 inside of our stretch target, because inside of our budget anyway. But there you go. So celebrating and spending a bit more on doing that sort of thing can actually blow your budget quite badly if you're not careful with that too. So we think that over the next few days we are not going to be spending much money, and as I record this podcast, we're into March, and we're even though we've spent a bit more money, we're currently hitting our stretch target for our spend. So it's quite, I think it's quite an easy thing to do, to hit those targets if you're not celebrating. And I think the celebrations can be seen as a bit extraordinary and a bit out of the ordinary, extra to your standard budget, although we are counting them inside our budget. So how have we been going along? Now, we've been keeping a very close eye on how much we spend on a daily basis, and I think that's really, really important. And we have a little quick ready reckoner on our whiteboard that counts up. It gives us our stretch target. So as the days go by, we've got sort of 30 days written up on the board, and as it goes along, it just really calculates up €13 at a time. So when we get to day 10, we know we should have spent no more than €130. Get to day 20 and it's €260, and so on and so on. So, but we've got all that written up so that we can do a quick, very simple calculation of what we should have spent and what we have spent, and we're quite diligent on how much we or recording how much we have spent, and Wendy keeps a good note of that in our little budget book. So we write down roughly what the items were. So if it's food shopping, if it's in the bar, if it's clothes or toiletries or other things, we're sort of miscellaneous. We write the broad category down, and then we write down the amount, the running total, and how much over or under we are on that day. So it gives us a real good sense of how much we are in budget or how much we are outside of budget. And on the odd occasion when we have been a few euros, we've been €10 over budget early on in February, because we went to Lidl's and spent like €60 early on. So we knew then that we had to keep a really, really tight rein on the wallet and not spend anything for a few days, and just sort of settle around and read books and so on, to not go out and spend that money when we didn't really need to. So that helped us an awful lot. And if you are thinking about running a daily budget, that's quite a good thing to do. Just keep a book where you whatever you're going out and spending, and I don't say that you should follow our example of, if you've overspent, just sit indoors and do nothing. We don't do that. There's always something that we've got to do. We're chatting about what podcasts to make, what videos to make over at our YouTube channel, the Happy Travellers, and always thinking about all the things that we've got to do. And there's a lot of planning to do on where we're going to be travelling to next and on into the future, and indeed all of that stuff that we need to sort of look at and discuss about all the electrics and living off grid, and where we can get gas next time we need it, and so on and so on. So there's always some interesting thing to do. And of course, the thing that we love to do most is to go out exploring, walking, taking Pippin out for a walk, maybe on the beaches and round, and up little back streets in towns and so on, seeing how all the locals live their lives. It's really, really interesting to us, taking photographs and making little videos and stuff like that. So there's always stuff that you can do. It doesn't cost any money, but it's still making your life a really full and rich existence, and that's what we like to do. So that's where we are with our budget. We are €9.35 over budget for February, and we'll try and drag that back when we're in March. If you're looking at the stretch target, that's something like €65 over our stretch target. But there is a stretch, and we're not designing to hit that. We're designing to hit 15. Okay, and we've missed that by €9. If it was a leap year, we'd have been well in. So, because that would have given us 29 days and another €15, and we only spent 9 over. So there you are. That's where we would have been. But budgeting is always a little bit of a thorny subject, and I know it's something that lots of you out there do ask. How do you manage? What sort of budget do you need? And indeed, just this week, we had a question from a couple thinking of living full-time in the motorhome. They're 55 years old and wondering if £200,000 would be enough to last them until they get their pensions. I think it'd be a stretch, but I think it's very, very doable. That's 10 or 12 years till they get a UK state pension at 67, 68, whenever they're due to get theirs. And £200,000, that might be sort of £15,000 a year income to sort of drain their pot of money down to zero. And I think that'd be very, very doable. My advice around that also is that maybe have a little bit of on the road work. If you could do that, maybe you write books and you could sell books, or maybe you can, all sorts of people do all sorts of things. And I've seen people in America do, set themselves up with a tiny little recording studio and do voiceover work, create music, jingles that people want to use on TV and radio commercials, and so on and so on. There's an awful lot of stuff that you could do on the road, and if you've got any sort of crafting skills, setting yourself up a shop where you can just sort of make things and sell them online and just pass them off to anywhere in the world. You can do all of that stuff to earn that little bit of extra money to keep those savings really topped up. So that's it for this little vlog. I hope you've enjoyed my explanations of how we've budgeted, and I'm going to see you again soon. Bye bye for now. Thanks for watching.